afternoon, and welcome back to another great episode of Sports Mecca. My name is Laurenz, and I am here with Morey. How are you today?
I'm doing so good, Laurenz.
You're doing so good?
Fantastic, actually.
Wait. I know why you're feeling so good. So before we get started on some Super Bowl talk, we want to talk a little bit about Tennessee athletics. So the men's Tennessee basketball team took a tough loss to Mississippi State, 73-86. Now they've had a lot of rough patches this season. It's been a rocky road. So what's really putting them in the hole this semester?
I mean, there's so many things that you could point to 5 new starters, kind of trying to find a play style, inconsistencies with injuries and lineups and all those things, and Vescovi and Plavsic not getting in until a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of things that have been in flux with Tennessee basketball. But overall, to me, it really just comes down to a lack of effort.
I completely agree. And a lot of fans and a lot of players keep trying to use the excuse that, hey, we lost so amount of players to the NBA draft, or we lost so amount of players to whatever the case may be. But this is a new team we're talking about here, and this is a new team that has a lot of talent, and they should use this talent to their advantage. But they can't seem to get it clicking for some reason.
And those were guys that were on, a lot of these guys, I mean, Fulkerson, Pons, Bowden, these were guys that were on the team before. They were there for the run to the Elite Eight. They were there for those things. Right. They have experience. Pons has exchanged his offensive game. Fulkerson looks more comfortable. I just don't think they're really finding a way that they mesh.
I completely agree. And I think they're trying, because obviously they had 22 fouls in comparison to Mississippi State's 14 fouls. So they're trying to be aggressive. They're trying to get it going, but they're being over aggressive. Like 22 fouls is not acceptable no matter who you're playing. So I feel like they're trying to get it there, but it's just not clicking somewhere.
Allowed 2 20-point scores. There was another player from Mississippi State that had 16 points, 69% from the free throw line. That is absolutely unacceptable. You can't expect to win in the SEC or in competitive basketball at all if you're shooting less than 7 out of 10 from the free throw line. That is, you're just not going to do it, especially when you're leading at halftime. That's the thing, too. For the first 20 minutes of basketball, Tennessee looked good. They looked like they had an identity. Vescovi was shooting pretty well. Plavsic was getting a couple boards. The international players actually both did pretty well. They both were our leading scorers, and that was great to see. And then the second half starts, adjustments kick in, and it just seems like we just can't really.
Adjustment kicks in, but Tennessee doesn't kick in.
Exactly.
And then again, it goes back to these players that are on the bench. They're not making an impact. Jalen Johnson was the only player that had more than 2 punts on the bench.
Gee.
And this is a team where in the SEC you have to have numerous amount of players that can show up and play, because they have to be there in the long run. So we can't just play 35, 30 minutes with one player and expect to win.
They've all shown flashes. We've seen Olivia and Comwa show really good flashes of being that, stand-up center who can face up and get rebounds. We've seen, Vescovi's had these flashes. You talk about Jalen Johnson. He's shown that he can really shoot pretty well from the arc, and when he's confident, can make it at a high clip. There's a good amount of players, and honestly, diversity of skills on this team with size and style of play that if they find a way to really work well together, I think the pieces are there. But, the Deacon, Rick Barnes, has got to figure out a way to fit the puzzle together.
I completely agree. It's just a working process. It's something we have to really work to, and something they really got to gain. Now, next up, we have a little bit of Tennessee Lady Vols basketball, where they also took a tough loss, 48-69. I don't know. How you feeling about that 21 loss?
Well, I mean, you got to realize South Carolina is the real deal. Very good team. This is the second time they've gone and faced a #1 team on the road. A third time they faced a top 5 team on the road. And frankly, it was just some unforced errors from Tennessee. I mean, 21 turnovers for the Lady Vols. It's hard to win a basketball game that way. It's just really hard. And then you see here, I mean, South Carolina is one of the best blocking teams in the country. And Tennessee's right there with them. They're actually the 2 top ones. So there was, a defensive battle for sure. But Tennessee started out slow, and they had a little bit of a run in that third quarter that you'll later on see in the highlights, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, Tennessee they just couldn't get it going. I mean, this is 2 great defensive teams, so there's not going to be too much of a high-scoring game. But Tennessee just struggled here to get points on the board. I mean,
with 17 overall, I'm pretty positive on that. But which is around her average, and that's great. But we've got to get it from all the players.
Right.
I mean, Jordan Horston's got to be a little bit more consistent. We've seen really good things from the freshman Tamari Key down low. Lou Brown came here as a transfer, and I expected her to be a little bit more of a scorer on offense, and we have not seen a lot. I mean, there's her shooting ability right there. She's got the the ability to spread out the defense with her size too, and she can shoot it from long range. So we got to see some more things. But I mean, the Lady Vols are still looking good.
Yeah, they're still a great team. They're 17-5 on the season, 7-2 in the conference. So there's still a lot of potential here and a lot of games to be played here. So I'm not going to just, knock them out yet. But this was a great South Carolina team that they played here, and they just didn't come to play.
Absolutely. I mean, 14.3% from three-point range during the game is absolutely unacceptable. I mean, you can't do that. It's similar to, the men's team shooting 69% for the free throw line. And those just numbers don't pick up for them.
Yep, they host number 9, Mississippi State, this Thursday. So maybe they'll jump back into it, get a little rhythm going.
Absolutely.
We're still in the rankings, so we're still there. Next, though, we have a little bit about Tennessee swimming team. Now, the Lady Vols and the men's Vols swimming team both swept Florida for the first time in program history. The first time in program history. The first time in program
that sounds awesome.
history.
Love it.
Lady Vols are ranked number 4 nationally, and the men's Vols are ranked number 12 nationally. The swimming team, that's so exciting to hear. I mean, like, a lot of people, I'm not going to say they don't get the credit they deserve, but we focus too much on the sports that we don't necessarily have to focus on.
Absolutely. And I mean, Tennessee is a perfect example of those, quote unquote, smaller sports being absolutely elite. I mean, swimming, elite, tennis, top 25. You look at softball and baseball, both going to be top 25 programs this year. So, if you're not really into football and basketball, you should go watch some of these other sports because they're playing at a very, very high level. And, up next, the swimming team, they're going to be competing against Auburn for the 2020 SEC Swimming and Diving Championship coming up here pretty soon. So some pretty exciting stuff going around just off the hardwood as well in the sports world here at Tennessee.
Most definitely. There's other things going on here at Tennessee other than basketball and football. The next segment we have coming up is segment 2, where we're here to talk about Mac's favorite subject of Super Bowl.
Welcome to Unwarranted. Here, you'll learn about actual real technology.
With three different teams, you can focus on what you want to work on.
We'll get you into tip-top shape to help exercise your comedic ability.
You'll learn handy skills and gain much-needed experience.
For example, you can focus on writing, production, editing, and most importantly, we're great co-workers. Friends.
Welcome back to Sports Mecca for our second and our final last segment of today's show. You ready?
I think I'm ready.
So our second segment we're here to talk about some Super Bowl.
Heck yeah. Super Bowl 54.
The Kansas City Chiefs defeated the San Francisco 49ers 31-20. At the halftime, it was even 10-10. So how did you like it? Go ahead, spill what you got to say.
Well, growing up in Kansas City, first 16 years of my life, huge Chiefs fan. So this was a very, big game, an exciting moment for me and my family. My brother drove down 3 hours here to Knoxville to watch it with me, and we got to experience that together. And I'm telling you what, I was on the edge of my seat just like I have been these past few playoff games. It seems like they have this, they've got a rhythm and a formula that works. It's just going to keep you on the edge of their seat. Down by 24 against Houston in the first game. They come back and score 41 unanswered. And then you go into the next game, the Titans, they're down by 10, they come back. And then the same thing here, they're down 10, the momentum is gone, it's the fourth quarter. Patty has thrown 2 interceptions in a row, and what do? They keep firing, and they come back, and they win the game. And frankly, I've heard this a lot on sports media, and I kind of like this take. They're kind of like the Golden State Warriors of football in the way that they can score that fast.
I could definitely vouch for that. This team is it's an amazing team, and I feel like the caliber of this team is because of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is very elite as he gets crushed there. But see how he gets up like it's nothing.
He got up and talked a little bit of smack right after. Yeah, absolutely.
I would have been crying on the sideline if I were
Good, man, good.
That was a 4th and 1 call. That was a very aggressive play call there by Andy Reid. Eric Bieniemy got that from the 1949 Rose Bowl. Got that play.
Damian Williams with his first touchdown of the day. He played a phenomenal game as well. Jimmy Garoppolo getting killed on the hit and throws it directly to the.
Had his eyes closed on that one. And this was a moment in the game where I thought the Chiefs really needed to capitalize and score 7 points. They didn't. Kept it a one-position game. And this is when San Fran started to do what they had done all playoffs, and it really run. I mean, back-to-back 10 to 15-yard runs. Kansas City's defense just flying around trying to get them, but it was looking like this was the exact way San Fran wanted it to go.
Most definitely. They have 2 running backs that are capable of doing the exact same thing. So either one that you put in, it's synonymous. You're going to get at least 10, 15 yards every time because their running game is so efficient.
Exactly, and here's a pretty controversial call. A lot of 49ers fans and NFL fans I think are a little upset about this. And, I get it. It's a little soft. They don't call it too often, but if you look in the rule book, I mean, that's exactly what it says. If player shows extension, I mean, that's going to get called.
And I completely agree there. It's the right call.
And frankly, he didn't need to do it.
He didn't. He put it in the bucket perfectly, so there wasn't a need for that. They capitalized here with the field goal.
Yeah, Kansas City called a timeout.
13-10.
And San Fran took advantage and got that.
Patrick Mahomes with a direct pass.
Probably the worst throw of his career in the NFL.
San Francisco capitalizing on the other end.
That was their biggest play through the air all game with Kendrick Bourne.
Now it is 2010 after San Francisco capitalizes on that. And then they get an interception following right after.
Back-to-back drives.
A lot of people
Second
thought
and
the
15,
game was over at this
Tyreek
point.
was wide open. He didn't catch it. It's 3rd and 15. Momentum's gone. Patty lets it loose and finds Tyreek Hill. And that's when you start to see those wheels kind of turning, and maybe this could happen. Travis is wide open after another pass interference call for a 1st and goal. And then the 49ers with 1 first down, they get a 3 and out, and they give the Chiefs the ball back right after that. You don't want to do that with Mahomes.
You don't. Patrick Mahomes is probably the most, I can say, calm that I've seen. When it comes to 4th quarter, when it comes to crunch time, he's just crunched down. He's solid. He doesn't get nervous. He doesn't get anxious, and he just stays in the mode.
Only 24 years old, youngest Super Bowl winner, youngest Super Bowl MVP. As a quarterback.
Damian Williams for his last touchdown, his 2nd touchdown of the day. He had 21 carries, 133 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then there's just the 49ers trying to get something going there at the end.
Desperation here. They threw it 2 times before this. This is when I was kind of questioning, and we'll get into this a little bit, Laurenz, but
right.
Those are some coaching decisions there at the end that were a little bit questionable. Passing that many times in that situation of the game where Jimmy G hasn't really proven himself, that was an interesting call. And then Damian Williams with the ice in his veins.
The icing on the cake. The icing on the cake. A lot of us expected Kansas City to win. I can agree that a lot of us we knew that the caliber of offense that they had was something that can't be beat. It's something that can't be in a match. They have the receivers, they have the running backs, even though LaShawn McCoy didn't play. They have the running backs, they have Patrick Mahomes, they have all the pieces. But I honestly was surprised that at halftime the score was only 10-10.
10-10, I know. The over-under was 54.5. I booked the over there, and at halftime I was like, wow, the under's probably going to hit. I mean, Kansas City still managed to score 31 points, and that was an interesting way. That is not the way, and that's why I felt the way that I did during the game. San Francisco was kind of playing the game that they wanted to play. Low scoring, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, let's matriculate the ball down the field and score points. And that's what they were doing for a while. Now in the second half, they passed a little bit too much, and you could see Kyle Shanahan not trusting Jimmy G. And I think other players see that too. Right. I think other players see that too. And once you put them in that situation where you're passing in clutch time, if you didn't trust him before, he's not going to be able to do it then.
I agree, but I mean that's part of it. That's an NFL quarterback.
Absolutely.
I mean it's all about experience. It's all about how long you've been there. And Garoppolo doesn't have the biggest resume there is, you know. So I mean you can't expect these people, you know, to just have all their faith in him. Because I honestly wouldn't either.
I mean, that's fine. That's fair. But, I mean, Mahomes' resumes, I mean, this is his third year, second year starting. It's not like he's got a lot of stuff, you know, that he just knows. I mean, Jimmy G has been to 2 Super Bowls prior to this. Obviously didn't play a snap in either one. But he's been in that environment. He's witnessed greatness. He's been with the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion, and the greatest coach of all time for years. He was there. He's seen that. And, frankly, he needed to show up a little bit more. That Emmanuel Sanders throw especially, I mean, that was open. Emmanuel Sanders had a step or two. He threw it 5 or 6 yards ahead of him. You've got to, as an NFL quarterback, you've got to be able to make that throw. And when it counted, he couldn't.
Most definitely. And towards the end of the game, I do think you made a valid point when you said they might have approached it wrong with the coaches, because if you have this running game that you know is consistent, why not just get 10 or 15 yards and just drive the ball down the field?
Especially when they were up 20-10. At that point, the second half, the fourth quarter, you've got them where you want them. I mean, don't give it to Jimmy G and put it in his hands. Or if you're going to do that, then do it out full-fledged, because you can't just go wishy-washy with him. Or anyone, frankly, for that matter. As a player, as an athlete, as a person, you're going to perform better if I know I've got 100% confidence in who's in charge of me. And I don't think Jimmy or Kyle had that with each other. And I think it showed Sunday night. Now, they still, frankly, had that game. I mean, they beat Kansas City for 52, 53 minutes.
So after that Super Bowl performance, do you think that Patrick Mahomes should have been the MVP this year? If you include the Super Bowl performance.
Okay, yeah. If you include that postseason run, then yeah, I could see him, you know, having a very good case for MVP. But with the injuries that he had this season, he missed a few games. He only threw 26 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions, which is great numbers.
Yeah,
I know, which is great numbers. He still managed to throw for almost 4,000 yards with missing games. I mean, he had an incredible season, and honestly, he got better. He really did. He was better than his MVP year.
Definitely.
The numbers may not show it. They're not as shiny, 50 and 5,000, and I get all that. But he was a better quarterback, a better decision maker, a better football player for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, and that's why they got the Lombardi Trophy, and it's going back to Kansas City. 50 years.
Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all we have for Sports Mecca today. Have a great weekend. Patrick Mahomes. That's